Hey everyone, welcome to Brain Candy number 3, which is all about alternate worlds and other dimensions. Alright, so there are tons of teachings from all over the world about other worlds than this one. Now, if you were an ancient astronaut theory, and I could totally like spike my hair out like a nutcase to propose that one to you, but I'll let the ancient astronaut theorists be their own thing. While I'm not opposed to the concept of alien life, I think that if we look at our ancient religious mythologies and spiritual traditions in the context of spirituality and magic and metaphysical truth, we find a much more cogent and meaningful reason for the existence of these mythologies. Now, there are a couple different ways that these mythologies go. Okay, on the one hand, you have Earth, and then you have like heavenly places and hellish places. Okay, the Celts have three worlds. There's the world of the living, there's the other world, and the underworld. Uh, if you look at Christians, they have earth, heaven, and hell. If you look at the Nordic tree of life, you have a much more complex system where you have Earth or Midgard in the center, with the realm of the Ljosalfheim or the Light Elves. Above that, you have Asgard or the realm of the gods. And then below, you have Svartalfheim or the realm of the Dark Elves. And below that, you have Hell or the realm of eternal night and darkness. And then you have these crisscrosses with Vanaheim of the nature gods, or the beneficent Gaia wonderful people, and kind of juxtaposed against Jotunheim, the power of the nature gods, which are like chaos and explosions and doom and eating things and people. And then, of course, you have the fire and ice, or like an archetypal yin yang energy realms, counterbalancing the other way. So Vanaheim and Jotunheim, then Niflheim and Muspelheim for fire and ice. So you have all these different worlds all over the fucking place. So I'm going to try and bring it together and tie it back into some of the things I've been talking about in the earlier Brain Candy videos. Okay, so I'm going to say that we have two broad divisions of these multiple worlds that are going on. Okay, one is all the stuff I was just talking about, where you have higher realms, lower realms, all of these places that are tied into our material reality. They are congruent planes. They're way different from this one, but there's an energy exchange. Okay, this is where you find all of your mythologies about elves and gnomes and pixies and all sorts of other little people and big people and all kinds of different mythologies. This is also where you find your realm of the dead. This is where you find your realms of angels and demons and gods. These are alternate dimensions that are tied into our own. A new agey way to put it is that they're at a different vibrational frequency, a higher vibrational frequency or a lower vibrational frequency. And then we have a totally different category, and that is branching timelines, like that shitty Ashton Kutcher movie, The Butterfly Effect. How every time you make a choice, the timelines branch out, they branch out, so there's just this infinite branching of the exact same world being lived out many, 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 many different ways. An interesting thing to play around for any of you who are having astral projection experiences. Try to get yourself into an alternate timeline and watch what you're doing in other lives where you've made different choices. Now, the interesting thing I have found with this is that when you go into these alternate timelines, they're a wee bit less solid than this one. So it's like we have all these branching probabilities and they have their own level of realness to them, but and this is a big but, it's like a bubblicious big but, um, the consensus reality that we share has a greater gravity than those alternate timelines, because we're not just living in our own little bubble. Our mental and spiritual ability to gravitate into a particular point in space time is balanced by our connectedness to other people who are doing the same. And as long as we are connected to these other souls, there is a commonality, a collapsing of multiple variant timelines into the one that's actually happening. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. That's not to say that other soul groups, far, far, far removed from our own, might not be living out a completely different version of this same space-time. You know, a fifth dimensional branch that's actually being lived out with every bit as much density as this one, but by different souls. It's our connection to our soul family and to the much, 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 much larger, like the soul nation that we're sharing this world with, that creates the gravity that holds this consensus reality into form. That's why just changing your belief, plenty of people can really, really, really trick themselves into believing they're living on an island with a castle and servants everywhere, and yet somehow they're still here, usually living under a bridge, shitting their pants. That's because it's our connectedness with other souls that holds this timeline into form with a greater density than these other possibilities. Okay. Now, as far as these other realms, okay, I love the Nordic way of looking at it because it allows for a great variety of these other realms. It places our material reality right at the center, which, given our perception being centered in our physical bodies, is a great philosophy for looking at it. The Kabbalistic tree of life puts it in like a creative power centered way, but we put it in a materially centered way. And the thing is, all of these planes are interrelating. Rather than looking at it as some obscure diagram of a weird philosophy, look at it more like a symbolic description of a literal reality. Okay? So we have our immediate astral plane that's closest to us, and that has many different forces going on. Okay? There, fire and ice, we have very warm, hot, activating powers, and we have very cold powers that suck the energy and the life out of us. Um, these aren't necessarily intelligences in and of themselves. They're just like the yin and yang of the dense astral realm, that which is most immediate to us. And we have nature spirits that are good and bad, what the Nords would call the Vanir or the nature gods, and the Jotun or the giants, the what one might call a form of demons. You know, natural forces that are predatory and destructive, and a lot of hauntings and a lot of blessings come from these realms. You know, they're not even totally separate realms. They're like races or species or classifications of species within the dense astral realm that is most immediate to us. Obviously, the Vanir or the nature gods are definitely going to be the most fun to interact with. Go on a walk in the woods someday, pour your energy out into nature, and call on the gods of that place to answer you. Um, you know, the Shinto religion is all about this. This is one of our few big time religions that is very primal and natural in its expression, in that it acknowledges the gods that are actually alive and interacting with us. Okay, so I urge you all to put a huge amount of emotional effort into getting in touch with the gods of nature. Go talk to that fucking tree. Just because it doesn't have a brain doesn't mean it lacks sensory apparatus and consciousness and senses. You just have to learn to change your energy to harmonize with it to be able to communicate. But, you know, and it's not just things that live in trees. There are things that have their own independent existence, but many of them are very tied to certain areas of land, like expressions of forces of nature. Da da da. And then the Jotun, that's where you get into like scary, horrible places. You get to a place in the middle of the night, and for some reason, this one just feels bad. That's some Jotun or some predatory nature spirits. Ooh, ooh, ooh. And then the Svartalf and Lilself, or the Svartalf and Lilself, the light and dark elves. This is what in a Christian mythology or Muslim philosophy or any of the big three, this is where you get your angels and demons, what the Nords would have called the Svartalf and the Lilself. Light beings and dark beings. They are on higher dimensions and lower dimensions than ours. Okay, they're not in the immediate vicinity the way the nature gods and the nature demons are. They're from slightly more removed places, and they're highly intelligent beings. Some of them are very predatory, very constricting, the sort of things that'll feed off your fear, that will possess someone and drive them to insanity. If you try to make a deal with it, you really are dealing with the devil. In a way that can be very destructive to you. And the Leo self, which a lot of religions would call angels, they're just light beings. Pretty strong feeling that many human beings might actually be these light elves or these angels incarnate, losing some of that wisdom when they enter into the flesh, because it takes so much energy to run one of these freaking monkeys, keep it conscious, and live a life with it. You lose a lot when you enter into the flesh. But those angelic beings are from a plane higher than our own. It's not our dense astral plane, it's the higher astral plane. The one where you get out of body and you actually have to step through a veil to get there. When you're in a dream state, you can move up and down. If you move up, 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 you get into that angelic realm, that higher astral plane. And then at the far ends of the spectrum, you have your divine realm and your hell realm. And the hell realm is an interesting one. It's not much like the Judeo-Christian hell. If you want to find the Judeo-Christian hell, go to the Svartalf realm of that darker astral plane. Yeah, fire and torture. You'll find lots of that there. Okay, go deeper than that, and you find an abyss of eternal emptiness. Ooh, it is the chaos, the all-consuming blackness that balances out the power of creation within the grand scheme of things. Newbies, don't go there. If you've been at it for 20 years and it happens to you, I hope you survive and come back better than you were before. The realm of the gods, though, that's the interesting one, because that's the one that's such an intense energy that even if you go there, good luck remembering anything about it other than it was amazing. That's where you get all these masters talking about how nirvana or enlightenment, it's just indescribable. There's no way to even put words to it. Truly enlightened masters, you talk to them about that higher astral angelic realm, and they're just going to yeah, that's a distraction from the real thing. What's the real thing? I cannot explain it to you. Just can't even try. That's what the Nords would call Asgard. The real and original home from which we all came. So yeah, there are some thoughts on that. Chakras act as nexus points into the higher realms and into the lower. Okay. Your 8th chakra pretty much resides within that angelic realm. And your 9th, 10th, 11th, they're all layers of that angelic realm. You have to go way the fuck out there before you're going to get to that true divine realm. You got 7 chakras mirrored up. Maybe the 14th chakra is the one that branches into that holy realm. As far as your nature spirits, on the wonderful side and on the not so wonderful side, your heart is going to be a major connection point there. Opening your heart, opening your third eye are going to be major ways to become aware of that. As far as your hellish dimensions, go down beneath your root chakra, you'll find it. If you really want to. What else do we have going on? Man, there's so much more to say, but you know what? I think that's about as much brain candy as you can eat without rotting your teeth. Nom nom nom.